Hey everyone, welcome to Operations Management. In this video, we'll be looking at missions and how to achieve those missions. That's our focus for Chapter 2. Specifically, we have the definitions of mission and strategy. And then once we understand that, we can come up with three generic strategies to achieve a competitive advantage. So when we're discussing missions and strategies, we can look at it first from mission statements. So if we look at a mission statement, that should help us understand where the company is going. And the strategy is going to help us understand how to get there. Okay, so that's the how. So the mission is the goal and the strategy is the how. So again, the mission is going to ultimately help us understand why a company actually exists in the first place, right? So that's helping us understand the purpose. It might help us recognize how it contributes to society. From an operations point of view, it's helpful because it provides some sort of focus for us. Okay, so again, having goals is going to help us more likely be helpful to be successful in what we're trying to achieve. So let's look at some mission statements, and who knows, maybe we can guess what they are or guess what company they belong to. So first, we have create more smiles with every sip and every bite. Well, if you guessed PepsiCo, then you are correct. Okay, so that's PepsiCo's mission statement. Let's look at another example. We have saving people money so they can live better. And that's Walmart, right? And finally, we have another mission statement. It's a little bit longer, so you might need to pause the video for a moment. But again, think about this mission statement. We have a tech company here, okay? And again, why does it exist? What is the purpose of this existence? Well, we see it in the mission statement. And if you guessed DoorDash, you're correct. This is why DoorDash exists. We want to connect companies, neighborhoods together. Okay, so those are some examples of some mission statements. Now, once we have those missions, let's look at, what does that mean in terms of strategy? Well, once we have our mission statement, we can then focus on the organization in three different components. Of course, this course is going to focus on operations, okay? But what we recognize now is we know the mission statement, and we need to make sure that every operational decision is going to support that mission, okay? This is what I mean by strategy. So again, with strategy, is going to help us support or achieve that mission. So we need to develop action plans. We need to make sure that every OM decision or every strategy we have is supporting that mission. And of course, it always helps to do some sort of SWOT analysis so we can make sure that we are successful at achieving that mission. Now, in regards to strategies, we can think of it in three different categories, okay? So if we want to achieve a competitive advantage, in other words, we want to be successful, well, we can do it in three different ways. So first is we can compete on differentiation. Okay, so in other words, we want to be better or at least different, positively different, of course, than our competitors. That's one way to be successful. Another strategy is maybe we want to be cheaper than our competitors. So we would be the leaders in cost leadership. And finally, maybe we just want to be more responsive, more quicker. That's another way that we can achieve a competitive advantage. So let's take a look at some examples here. We'll start with differentiation. Okay. Again, this is one way that we can be successful is that if our product is more unique than others, then that way we can be seen as having some sort of value to the customer. Okay. So this is an interesting example here. These are safe skin gloves. These are kind of innovative gloves that's used in the medical industry. Okay. And again, we don't have to know anything about these gloves, but we can already see that they are interesting in the sense of the way they're packaged. Now, they do have some really technical advantages as well. That's why they're considered innovative. But just from the packaging alone, we can see that they are different. Okay. Now, let's use some more examples that are perhaps more familiar to our industry. Okay, so again, the differentiation doesn't have to be the product itself. It might actually be the experience, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, but we'll look at some examples first. So when we think of, Walt Disney Magic Kingdom. Okay, this is obviously a very unique experience, and this is why they are successful, because they are competing on being unique, and they do a really great job of doing that. Let's look at another example. Okay, again, these are all examples of competing on differentiation. We look at Hard Rock Cafe, okay, and this is their bar, obviously very different. So you're going to have a very unique experience when you go in there. Often theme restaurants, that's what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to have a very unique experience for the guest, okay? So that focus, particularly on those two examples, was the idea of experience differentiation. So again, how do we provide a unique experience to the guest, okay? And often you have to use, all five senses when we are trying to achieve that. So this is why, theme parks and restaurants, everything that the guest experiences has to be unique. Okay, so that's one way to achieve a competitive advantage. That was number one. Number two was competing on cost. Okay, so again, cost leadership. And really, this is a very simple way to think of it. Is just, can we be cheaper than our competitors? And ideally, if that's your mission, like Walmart, and everything functionally has to support it, okay? And of course, even from a marketing point of view, obviously the price has to support it as well, okay? So here's an example. Here we have Southwest Airlines, okay? They're known as a very sort of cheap airline. And again, you can see this from a promotional standpoint. They're trying to achieve that competitive advantage, okay? Other examples, in just one moment, of course, we've already talked about Walmart, okay? And that's, again, everything that you're trying to achieve operationally is to make sure that you have the cheapest product. So, we'll look at more details throughout the course, but I'm sure when you think about sourcing, suppliers, all of that is going to play a role in whether or not we can achieve that goal of being the cheapest competitor, okay? So that's what we mean by competing on cost. I think that is a good way to look at it, okay? Another example here, this is an interesting sort of a company. It's a grocery store, okay? And basically, the reason why they're competing on cost, let's see, what is the name of the Franz Kohlert? It's a French and Dutch grocery store, okay? But what's really interesting about this grocery store is that they have no bright lights, they have no music. No one has bags anymore, but so what they do is it's basically like a warehouse, and they don't have any, they don't try and make it lively at all. But the reason why they do that is that they can pass those savings on to the customer, okay? So again, if the goal is to be as cheap as possible, then they're going to do everything they can to achieve it, okay? So that's another example of competing on cost. The third way to compete on cost, to compete strategically, is to compete on response. Okay, so in other words, again, this is all about speed. And, we could do this a lot in the hospitality industry. I like to use the example of Pizza Hut. They used to have the really fast lunches. You can see here, this is way back in the day, but they had a little timer here. Okay, so fresh baked pizza in 5 minutes guaranteed. So again, what are they trying to do? They're trying to, promote the speed of their service. Okay, and this is, lunch specials. That's one thing a lot of companies do for lunches is they try and, promote how quickly they're going to be, how responsive they are. Okay, so that's an example. And I know what you're thinking. This is, come on, let's update some slides here. This is a really old slide. So absolutely. So we can, we have more modern examples here. So where do you think this operation is coming from? So we have orders, pickups, delivery options all ahead of time. Okay, this is obviously more current. Okay, and you see this a lot. So obviously Starbucks, I think they're one of the first first organizations to have this. Okay, but of course you can order online, get to the store, and it's available for you. So again, what are they doing? They're competing on response. They're trying to gain a competitive advantage by telling you to, pay ahead, skip the line, and all those things. So those are three generic ways on how we can achieve a competitive advantage. Okay, and this is a great kind of chart here. Again, some more examples here. Okay, so differentiation, we have our cost leadership, and then we have our response. Okay, so response can also be maybe flexibility and not just quickness as well. Okay, now as we go through the course, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at those operation management decisions. Okay, and we're actually going to look at this in our lab coming up as well. And we're going to try and understand how can we make supportive decisions that help us achieve that strategy. Okay, and again, we see our 3 different ways of achieving a competitive advantage. And of course, it is possible to achieve all 3, but we're going to focus just on what happens when we try and achieve one competitive advantage. Okay, so that's our lecture for this video. Okay, again, we defined mission and strategy. And then we looked at those 3 different strategies on how to compete or achieve competitive advantage. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.